Hi, I'm Deputy Spencer Colby with the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office Animal Services Unit. I'm here to talk to you today about what you need to do with your pet in the event that a natural disaster is going to strike our area. You got two separate options when it comes to the Animal Services Unit. You have the Animal Services main shelter, which is located right here, 180 Division Drive, right off of North 23rd Street. And animals are taken in there, all domestic animals are taken in at this shelter regardless of their vaccination status. The shelter is going to be opened and staffed 24 hours a day once a state of emergency has been declared. So you can come bring your animal in whenever it's safe to do so. And once the state of emergency has been lifted, you've got 3 business days to come pick your animal up from the shelter before it becomes county property. The other option you have is the county's co-location shelter. The location of that shelter will be announced once a state of emergency is declared, but it'll normally be at one of the local middle schools. Typically, the way these shelters are set up is that you bring your pet and you stay at the shelter. And cats and dogs are the only domestic animals taken at these shelters, and we prefer that these animals have a current rabies vaccine, so please have that information available with you when you bring your animal to the shelter. These shelters are set up so that once the state of emergency has been lifted and the decision's been made to close the shelter, you have to take your animal with you when you leave the shelter. Some things to think about. Supplies. If you're going to be leaving the area, or even if you're going to try and weather out the storm, you need to make sure you have plenty of food. We typically recommend at least 2 weeks of dog food be on hand in case of an emergency. You also need to have animal medications. And if you do bring your animal into the co-location shelter or the animal services shelter, we've got food to provide for them. You don't need to bring their own food in unless it's on some type of special diet. Also, if you bring your animal to one of these shelters, it's nice to have some toys or something that would help reduce their stress, such as blankets. So to talk a little bit about the co-location shelter that I haven't already talked about, you are housed separately from your animal. Typically, you can only have pre-arranged visits with those animals, but those pre-arranged visits are to administer medications if needed, to feed your dog if it's on a special diet, and to take your dog for a walk. If weather conditions permit, you can take your dog outside the facility and take it for a walk. And once again, once those shelters close down, the animal has to be taken from the shelter whenever you leave and check out of the shelter. Talking a little bit about the main shelter that I haven't spoken about before, the shelter is staffed 24/7 during the declaration of a state of emergency. Your animals aren't required to have a rabies vaccine, but if they don't have one, when you pick up your pet, you can expect to receive a civil citation giving you approximately 72 hours to get that vaccine taken care of. Now, talking about a written disaster plan, one of the things you want to have is a pet survival kit. And some of the recommendations for the pet survival kit, I already mentioned a 2-week supply of food, water, food bowls, medicine for your dog, newspaper, cleaning products, pet hygiene products, plastic trash bags for animal waste and other refuse, cat litter and pans for the litter, muzzles if necessary, and then toys and other comfort items. Now, there's a few things that you should have had done before hurricane season even hit, back before June 1st. And that's that you should have had a current copy of your pet's immunization records. Most hotels, most shelters, other jurisdictions, any place you might travel to, if you leave the area or even leave your pet here, is going to require that. You want to make sure you have a collar with the current rabies tag affixed to it and an ID tag as well. If you have microchipping of your animal, you want to make sure that that's all up to date. Good thing to think about is putting your pet in a carrier. The reason why is carriers can be comfort to animals, small isolated spaces, they feel a little bit more comfortable. Make sure that carrier is labeled with your information and your pet's information. And then make sure, just in case, that you have a phone number for a veterinarian to get a hold of for any type of medical or veterinary emergency that might happen. Following all the rules and following all the information I just gave you, it's going to make things run a lot smoother, make things a lot easier for us and you in the event of a natural disaster.